Alex told me I couldn't put 0 in the bin.
Oh, did he? Too useful.
Right.
Well,
wait a minute.
Without it, Sylvia.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Thankfully It's Friday. It's Thankfully It's Friday, but with a difference. Obviously, we don't have everyone's favourite Jackie Mount with us today. She's on holiday, although she did send me an email to say, had she been here, the only thing really she would have to say is that furlough has been extended by a further month, which I presume you all know, from Rishi Sunak, or as I'm calling him nowadays, Sushi, because a bit like sushi, there's not much of it there really, and he still hasn't come on our programme, so I'm going to use that name until such time as he does. I'm told the new year will be the time. But anyway, so today is a little bit different. It's actually episode 104, I think it is, and everybody thought when I said let's do a Room 101 that it was going to be our 101st episode, which unfortunately I hadn't thought of it. I made it up on the spot, so I hadn't really thought it through. But anyway, so today we have a Room 101, and I am really pleased to have 3 of our leading members with us. We have Yvonne Boddie, fresh from carrying off a Luca, and she's joining us alongside Kirsty St. John, spelled St. John, but always called St. John, as we know, so we do get people calling her that. And then we have Sylvia Bourhill. Now, actually, we had a couple of volunteers, and when faced with the actual thing about to happen, 1 or 2 found other things which unfortunately were far more pressing. So I have to say a big thank you to Sylvia for coming in at the last minute there, and particularly for sitting us in front of that huge fire that she's got with all of the mantelpiece there until she switches it off. But anyway, that's great. So really festive. Yvonne immediately said, I didn't know we were supposed to dress up. Well, we weren't actually. It's a bit of an end of term thing, I suppose, this. But anyway, so Room 101. For those of you who don't know, it comes from George Orwell's novel called 1984. It's based on a Room 101, which is was at the BBC. And apparently all sat there for various meetings, and he thought they were all very boring. And then when he wrote 1984, he made it a torture chamber in the Ministry of Love, where the party subjected prisoners to their worst nightmare, fear, or phobia. So unlike our members today here, who get to throw get their pet hate thrown away, they were made to endure their worst fear or phobia, which sounds awful to me. But anyway, so we're going to launch straight into this. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask each individually to give us their pet hate. We'll all then, between us here, have a chat about it and decide what we think the relative merits are. Then, at the end of that, I'm going to ask you as our listeners to make the decision as to which you think is the one that should go into Room 101. And at which point I shall drop the lever and you will hear this. You probably didn't hear that. I mean, for those of you who are being really clever, it's my trusted Nespresso machine, and that's a pod dropped to the bottom. But it's the only lever I could find. I was tempted to sneak into the office and get the 4-hole punch that we've got, because that's got a fantastic lever on it. But yeah, I'm being very careful as London is now on tier 3. I thought I might get frog marched out of the premises should I go in. But anyway, so here we are. So on the basis that we are ready to go and everybody is going to tell you about their pet hate, let's talk first to Kirsty.
Oh.
Kirsty, tell us what your pet hate is.
So, funnily enough, this actually came up on my Facebook memories. I was obviously annoyed about it many years ago as well. So my thing is people that still have pieces of paper, like this is an old machine mark, you know, with the perforations on the edge, and they come in and they're all scrappy. But I'm going to extend that to general paperwork that's got staples and post-its and is folded when it comes through my door, and I have to spend ages sorting it out so I can scan it. I love my scan snap, and very annoying. So generally paperwork that's not nice and neat or not electronic.
But isn't that what bookkeepers do? They make some sort of order out of chaos.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
my
you don't have
strapline.
chaos,
I know that we all like it, but I like the tidy files afterwards. It's just annoying that you have to do stuff to it before you can then do it properly. It's just inefficient.
Yvonne, what do you think? I mean, is this worth a 101, or do you think she's just being pre-Christmas petty here?
I think I must agree with Kirsty. You know, with me trying, everything has got to be cloud-based. Paperwork is a day of ages. I think I agree with you, Kirsty. Paper clips, papers, no. So yes, I'll say definitely 101.
What about you, Sylvia?
Oh yeah, I'm afraid I'll go along with Kirsty. I'll add to it is the guy who comes with his bag of papers and then says, "Oh, do you want the van stuff?" And he goes back and he gets the stuff that's been in the footwell and has footprints all over it, and the stuff that's been on the windsill and that has got faded in the sunshine. So yeah, I think I'd add that lot to it. But
and
yes,
he smokes, and it's all smoky in the van, and it's sandy.
Yeah.
They're on the rubble site. Yep.
Yeah. And we had one who, basically, I think she must have lived in a stable because it smelled of horse. Quite significant.
I'm glad you said horse. That's good. But anyway.
Family show.
Family show. That's right. Yeah. So no,
Yeah,
I'll go along with
family.
Kirsty. Definitely 101.
You think so? Right. Well, you've got to try and persuade us eventually that yours is more worthy of 101, because only one gets into 101. But just taking this further, I know that we've always had problems with paper clips. I mean, the day they got rid of paper clips was a great day for me, because the number of times I've been hunting for something which has accidentally been paper clipped to the back of some other document that I'd filed away somewhere or something, or that was useful. But yeah. Well, I don't know. I think it's probably what bookkeepers are about, but we'll see about that. Yvonne, what is it you want to see confined to 101? What is that? I can't hear you.
Can you see? I
I
wanted you to guess. This is the brown paper from HMRC, especially during this week. There have been so much of these letters coming through the letterbox, and as well as the VAT. And my peeve is HMRC. I don't know if anyone ever experienced recently ringing HMRC, and you will have to go through 9 options. And then suddenly you get to put on hold, and then you're on hold for, I think, about, let's say, 30 minutes if you're very good. Following 30 minutes, you've got this annoying music. Some of these music, I don't even know where HMRC get these music from. And you've got to hold on. Then you will hear like a person's voice, and then being told that you've been connected to the wrong
department.
option.
Yep.
And then you wait again for that little kind of a break, and we will be transferring you to the correct department. And then again, it is another 30 minutes of annoying music.
If they don't cut you off by accident.
I was just going to come to the, and then suddenly you get cut off.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep.
Everybody seems to like that. And what I want to know is, when do you ring somebody like BT? And it's not, sorry, this is our busiest time of the day. It always appears to be the busiest time of the day. So, yeah.
We've had excess calls lately. Yeah.
So Kirsty, you've been cut off in your prime by the sound of it.
Well, I totally agree. I've definitely had various chats with HMRC, and you've kind of found, you've Googled the right to people that you need to speak to, and you're on hold, and you've gone through the options, and you've lost the will to live, and you've kind of forgotten why you rang in the first place. You get through to a person, they go, "Oh, no, you need these people." But we'll save you the hassle. I totally agree with you. We will put you through, and then it's 50-50 if you're going to get through or get. But when you do actually get a person, HMRC are lovely,
Definitely.
And Toby thinks it's hilarious when I said, "Oh, I've got a taxman coming to my chair, my meeting, my branch meeting." He said, "I thought you didn't like the taxman." I said, "No, individually, they're all very nice people. As a concept, it's different, but Yeah, getting cut off on the phone system is a nightmare. It's not just BT that it's not just HMRC. All of those automatic phone things are a nightmare. You lose the will to live while you're waiting for what you're doing.
Well, as I mentioned before, June and I have just moved home, and we have switched from Sky to BT, and I was ringing BT, but accidentally rang Sky, and I was holding on and holding on and holding on. And eventually got through, and the woman said, "Hi, Sky." I said, "Oh, I thought you were BT." She said, "No, we're definitely Sky." I said, "Well, look, I've waited for so long. Can't you help me anyway?" But no, she was completely the wrong. She was completely the wrong person. But never mind. And I couldn't understand why my numbers were just not working. So anyway, never mind. So Sylvia, you do a lot of chatting to HMRC over the weeks and the years, don't you? So I mean, have you found the secret route to somebody or not?
Well, the best route I have is to shout at the phone. And actually, every time I've ever done that, in total frustration, you know, it's when you have to give a voice answer. What? Tell me in a few words what you would like to do today. What words? What words do you want? I've tried every word I can think of, and it takes me back. Tell me in a few words what you would like to do today. I want to complain works quite well, actually.
Yeah, it's when they say you can ask things like, and they give you a list, and they say, "Yeah, but I don't want to ask that. I want to ask something." I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. We can ask questions. Oh, go away, and all the rest of it.
When you have to give the account.
A while ago, I was having a rant at Siri, and I wanted to do something. She couldn't understand what I was trying to say, so I came up with a very mild expletive. And it came back and said, "I'm sorry, I do not respond to that sort of language." But anyway, so I find everything is getting automated. It's getting annoying, really, which is one of the things that, I mean, it sounds as if it's banging the bookkeeper's drum, which I suppose I am. But one of the things that we keep getting from our members' clients when we talk to them is that I get somebody to talk to, and there are times when I really want to chat to somebody. I've no real idea why. I don't know where it's going to go, but I feel so much happier when I've had to chat to somebody. And I think that, you know, everybody seems to be missing out on this at the moment because everything is done, you know, automatically. Or would you like to be put through to our automatic payment line? Well, you know, and you say, yes, all right. Did you know you can do this on the web? Yes, I know I can do this on the web, but I want to, you know, I want to. It is really annoying, but anyway. And the other thing is, we moved to a house which over the years has changed its name slightly. So people keep refusing to talk. These machines keep refusing to talk to me because they don't recognise the house name. So I find that a bit of a bind. But generally speaking, you normally give us very good responses about HMRC, as I think you've said, and this is not sucking up to HMRC, but I mean, they've won a couple of awards for their advice lines with us. You voted for them, not me. Do you think they're just trying to fend off the nuisances and hope that not everybody eventually hangs on and comes through? Or
yeah, I think
they just got too many calls to handle?
The introduction of their web chat, when they supposedly cut the call service time down from 8 till 4, they cut the hours that they were available, but they introduced the web chat thing. That, some of it, again, if you get a real person, it's really useful. But I've had cases, but it's the same when you ring them. You kind of happen to ring or happen to chat to the next person on a different day, and you get a totally different answer to the one you got the previous day, and you go, well, I preferred yesterday's answer, but you know, it's not. Shall I ring a third time and see if I can get a majority vote? You know, it is a bit challenging. At the beginning of the furlough, we were WhatsApping and messaging HMRC and chatting, all going, well, I got this, or I got told this, and I got, you know, it was mad. Obviously, it settled in the end, and it got better. And oh, what joy, we get to do it for longer.
Actually, I had a contact from a member recently, and I was talking to him, and he said, the thing's coming up in a minute now. I rang your office and I got an answer, but I thought I'd ring again just to check, and I got exactly the same answer. He said, do you write all the answers on a wall somewhere and they just read them off? I said, well, no, for a start, we're all, you know, every single person's got a different wall as it so happens, but if it's the proper answer, it is the proper answer. Anyway, Sylvia, we need to know what it is you want to have thrown into 101.
Well, I've been told I can't put 0, so I'm
Oh, you don't like 0?
so I'm putting time wasters into,
Oh.
into room 101. I'm putting time wasters. So the people who, one, they try to do their own bookkeeping, so they waste your time while you try to fix it. Those clients that want something for nothing, they phone up and they talk to you for hours, and then they get upset because you try to bill them for it. And the potential clients who ring up and pick your brains and then say, no, well, I think we won't go with you, you're too expensive. Or for any other reason, they just wanted to pick your brains, and then you can't bill them for it because you've answered their questions on the phone, which is kind of okay if they then think you're wonderful and come with you. But if they're so time wasters. And then as for subcontractors, I mean.
Oh, so you've got quite a few. I wondered how you were going to narrow it down to 1.
No, well, I'm just going to go for time wasters. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. What do you think about that then, Yvonne? What do you think about it?
To be honest, right, that was on my, if I had a chance to go second, that would have been my next, Sylvia. I totally agree with you. Those people who call you on the phone and they call, and as you say, you will be on the phone for 1 hour. And they will be pulling information, and you will go away. Even you don't even know the answer to the question. You'll go away, you come back, and then they refuse to sign up. And even if they do sign up, those are the ones that challenge every penny, every minute of what you're trying to invoice them. Time wasters. Definitely. I will go with that one.
I agree with you. And also the when people just, somebody rang up out the blue the other day, and he wanted to know if he could claim for his furlough payment in advance of December, and I'm like, hang on, it's like the 2nd of December, we're still doing November, and and anyway, who are you and what are you? And I'm not going to give advice over the phone. Who the hell are you? Exactly, kind of. So HMRC website's very up to date on these things. I'm not sure they've got the dates out for that December one, if you can do it in advance, and just kind of gave a really generic answer. But it's like, I'm not going to waste my time on. It is really hard when you you never know whether it's going to turn into a really good thing. So you don't want to be rude and horrible, but
on the other hand,
yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Everybody says, "Oh, the clock ticks as soon as you pick up the phone," but really, it is your clock. And every minute you're spending talking to somebody for nothing, you're not spending that minute talking to somebody who is a paying customer and to whom you owe your obvious loyalty. Yeah. I mean, we have a bit of a debate always in ICB that whenever we run events, we do non-member events. And some people have been non-members for 10 years. We keep saying, well, why don't you join? They say, well, I don't want to do your exams. I said, well, but you're a bookkeeper. I'm like, well, I'm a bookkeeper, yes. But why do you keep coming to see our events? Well, that's where I learn what I'm doing. And I said, you shouldn't do that. So we're starting to sort of say to some people, no, look, you've had enough. Enough's enough. We also get a lot of people ringing up saying, can I be put through to your advice line, please? Yes, certainly. Can you give me your membership number? Oh, I'm not a member. Why would we put you through to the advice line? I said, no, well, it says on your website, you give free legal advice and I want some legal advice. I said, yes, but it does say to members. Oh, so what have I got to become a member? What do I do to become a member? I say, well, you go through this process and that process. I don't want to do that. I've been a bookkeeper for years. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so do an exam.
Apart from this one specific thing, yeah.
Exactly, and you think to yourself sometimes, do we tell them to politely go away? Do we hope that one day they will become members? And actually, we've decided recently that we're going to narrow it down a little bit because you're the people that are paying us to offer this, through your subscriptions. You're paying us to give everybody this advice, and it's not fair that we're giving it away. So we've had a few grumpy people, and I've got one lady that now swears she's definitely going to come into membership. She's with the ICB actually, and she says, well, they don't do this sort of stuff. I said, yeah, but that's not my fault. That's why we want to join us. He said, but you're called the Institute. Doesn't this mean you have a public duty? I said, yes, but it's only the bit of the public that pays the subscription as far as I'm concerned. So she went off in a bit of a huff. And I did tell everybody a while back that when we did the Inspire Tour, not last year, which was virtual, but the last time we did the physical Inspire Tour, we were in Inverness. And at lunchtime, this IAB member, there are other organisations, I'm not just picking on them. She came up to me at lunchtime. She says, "I've had enough. I'm going home." I said, "Oh dear, are you all right?" She said, "It's all about the ICB." I said, "Well, it's the ICB conference." She said, "But you didn't say that." I said, "I think we did." And I got the details out. She said, "Yes, but I thought it'd be a bit more general." She said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, "Well, perhaps that's why you should be joining the ICB, really, because you should at least know the basics." Oh, well, that's a nonsense. I've been a bookkeeper for years. Okay, right. You know, what can you say, really? But never mind. So, just to recap, then we've got paper, rubbish, paper clips, all of this sort of stuff that you want the job doing for you. We then have got HMRC and the dreaded waiting line, and the fact that you get cut off or get through to the wrong department or anything else. And then, Sylvia, we've got time wasters. So everybody watching, we're going to give you, what time is it? 14:22. We'll give you about 5 or 6 minutes now to get your vote in. Remember, you're voting for the one which should go into 101. So that's the one that you agree with most. I'll announce it around about past 12:30, and then it will be dropped into room 101, or room Nespresso, as we call it on this occasion. But meanwhile, while we're waiting for that to happen, and my 3 guests don't actually know anything about this, but I thought while we're waiting, we'll just have a bit of a general chat. So, folks, it's an unusual Christmas, to say the most. We are in various stages of lockdown at the moment. Sylvia, I can see you're obviously going to have a very jolly Christmas there, and I wouldn't expect any less from you. But how is it going to affect you this Christmas that we're about to be allowed into?
We've just gone into tier 3, so yeah, we're going. I'm taking my mum who's in our bubble anyway, to visit my brother up in Northamptonshire. I think he's only in tier 2, so we're sort of, I don't know. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. I thrive on parties and friends and impromptu gatherings, and well, we're not doing that. Although we did do a little impromptu pre-tier 3 garden party last night.
Wow.
Right.
mulled wine and mince pies. I just kind of sent out a WhatsApp to some of our friends and said, put your winter woolies on and come and sit in the garden, and we'll have a little.
Those of us who have seen you at the post-summit party know that you can get down and boogie when called upon to do so.
Yes.
So, yeah,
I wasn't boogieing in the garden last night, I must admit.
No.
I would keep you warm though, Sil.
But it would. That is true. It would do. But yeah. So it's not going to be the same. But at least my boy's home.
Yeah, you got him home before he got locked down or out.
Yeah, that's great. And what about the festive church going and everything else? I'm new here at the moment, so we're trying to find out. There's a lovely, huge church in the centre of here, the big church. I'm hoping to be able to get in there on Christmas Eve. I mean, are you going to be able to do anything?
Yeah, so there's a few. Our church has got a few things going on. Starting tomorrow evening, we have a Rock the Manger service, which is out in the church car park, and they've painted squares on the. You have to stand in your square, and you're not allowed. But yeah, and you have to wear a mask, but you can sing because we're outside. Whereas they have, and then we've got. There's various online things that have been going on all the time anyway, our online services, and maybe a few people in church, but they're only watching the online service on the big screens in the church. So it's not quite the same. We've got a carol service on Sunday night, which I think might be in person. We've got a midnight service, which we are going to go to.
Yeah. I saw a lovely cartoon recently of Mary, a very pregnant Mary on the donkey, and Joseph leading her, and they're standing outside the inn, and the innkeeper's poking his head through the door, and there's a big tier 3 sticker on the side of the door and it says, no, sorry, no rooms, but I can do takeaway.
I just saw one on
Well, it ends well, as it will.
I just
What
saw
about
one
you, Yvonne? What are you up to this festive season?
Is that me, Gary?
Yeah.
Unknown caller.
No. There's no unknown call. Sorry about that.
Unknown
turn
call.
your phone off when you're on Zoom.
No,
it's got my
I'll
number.
switch mine on as well.
Yeah,
Right.
all right.
To be honest, for me, it is going to be, to be honest, already it is a really, really strange Christmas, because for us as families, by now we would start family parties, and by now I would know what I'm doing for next week Friday. And to this day, Gary, if I say to you that I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't even think, I haven't even completed my shopping. So I'm way, way behind. But on the street where I live, the neighborhood group is absolutely fantastic. There's a lead lady that she does 25 days of Christmas, where all the houses should light up every night. So every house on the street lit up all the way up towards Christmas. So that is something on the street that is really, really lovely. So we tend
So
to
the
do
street
that.
is an advent calendar. I've heard about that before.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Nice.
Yes, and it is beautiful driving home some nights when it is like say late and driving in, and you can see the different lights going on. It is beautiful. So that is something that is really warm on our street. But apart from that, there's not much that I've got planned, to be honest.
Well, like you said
Right.
about the shopping, it's difficult to know exactly how many you're shopping for right now, isn't it? So
Well, that's it. And the thing is, right, usually for us, it's like when, say, for example, I love to cook, right? And Christmas, if there's any other day, because some evenings, you know, you can't cook and you just do whatever, kids will sort themselves out. But for this Christmas, when you've got a household of teenagers who doesn't really like the spread. So if, say, for example, I'm going to do like a proper spread, how we do it the West Indian way, it's going to be total waste, because they don't want to get messy. They don't want to tidy up. They don't want to do this. So with nobody coming around to assist, it's like, just keep it small. So for us, it's just a family of 4. And it's just like, I think this weekend we're going to plan the menu and say, what would you like to see on the table for Christmas Day? So we're going to have a Christmas breakfast. Then we're going to have a Christmas service, just the 4 of us. And then following Christmas service, then we're going to have our evening meal, and then might be games, activity, and so forth. So that is just the 4 of us. And that is the first we planning something like that. Before we'll be going to grandparents or aunties, cousins, and do a big celebration. But I'm still looking forward to it. It's gonna be a quiet one, but I'm looking forward to it.
So under normal circumstances, what is your Christmas meal? Is it turkey, or do you do the West Indian meal?
To be honest, a mixture of everything, Gary. On our table,
Right.
on our table, there will be kids. Everybody, it's depending on the taste, the person's taste bud on Christmas. So definitely, my husband, there's no Christmas without turkey. So turkey's got to be ham. It's got to be there. Fried chicken, spicy. It's got to be there. And then I'm a fish person. Fish has got to be there. So
Wow.
yes, it's a variety of just a touch of every little thing.
And how many people do you usually have to eat it?
Sometime up to about 25.
wow.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, up to about 25. Yeah.
It's going to be a real shocker for you to just be 4.
I know, that's it. That's it. I absolutely. It's like I'm thinking about now planning, and you're thinking, you know, where do you stop? What do you buy? How much? Because it's not like me for just a small cook.
Wow.
Yeah. But it will have to do.
Kirsty, what about you?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to meet up with my mum and dad and my sister on the Wednesday, the 23rd. My mum and dad are in tier 3, just that they're at the bottom end of Lincolnshire. Their actual village is a Naught, but they count as Lincolnshire. My sister's in Peterborough, which has just gone into tier 3. But we're leaving it up to mum and dad whether they want us to meet it. But it might be a short visit in their conservatory with the windows open, just for a few hours rather than the full on, you know, we'd normally be there all day, you know, lunch and tea sort of thing. So it might just be a shortened visit. Then Christmas Eve, my son's going to his dad's, and then I get him back on Christmas Day. But whether or not I then meet my parents again, because he'll have then spent the Christmas Eve, technically he's in another household, but that household's with other people. So that, do I then want to expose my parents to those? It's complicated. It might just be me and Toby, cook for two. I can manage that. And he doesn't want turkey, so he wants chicken wrapped in bacon like he has the last 5 years. So it's easy. That'll be a combination of Prosecco, Baileys.
All right. Anaesthetised, right. And it's interesting when I was listening to the politicians talking about these bubbles. There are some very complicated families about at the moment, you know, with marriages, remarriages, second marriages, and all the rest of it. Yeah, it is difficult, obviously, and I'm not sure how the politicians come up with these answers. And it's interesting that when they make an announcement and they're at their 5 o'clock press briefing, some bright spark from one of the papers or the BBC or ITV comes on and asks why they've not jumped in exactly the opposite direction. But it's easier being a journalist, I think. And you know, I remember you working on papers.
But I think the hard part, the hard part for us all is, you know, is that whole decision of just because we can and technically we're allowed, you know, still doesn't mean that we should. You know, my son is allowed between 2 households, but the fact that his household is then extended, and then, you know, is he bringing that virus back to us? It's just, we just don't know, you know. And we've hung on this long. It's like you kind of can't help but think, just last a few more weeks until we can all get the vaccine, or, you know, until it's heard around. And well,
few more weeks though. Is it going to be a few more weeks or a few more months before they finally decide? I'm working on the basis, if they've got to vaccinate, so there's 60 million people in the UK, they've got to vaccinate half of them, which I think was what they've been, that's still 30 million people. They managed 134,000 last week. Now, even allowing for, you know, maybe 500,000 a week, that's still, you know, we're going to be after next Christmas before we're all done.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. You know, I think it's going to be like that for a while.
The practicalities of it.
Gary, I finally got invited for my flu jab, so that's a good start.
Oh, I've had a flu. Gary, what are you and June doing for Christmas in your new place?
Again, we're waiting to see, really. I mean, we are hoping to have Amy, Jordan, and the 2 granddaughters down, because granddaughters are, you know, great, and well, as are Amy and Jordan, obviously. James and his now fiancée Tara, they announced yesterday that they are getting engaged.
Congratulations.
I think it might be a long engagement because they want to get married properly, I suppose.
Actually, want to get married.
Yeah. And we said, oh, right, we must get together for a drink, and then realised immediately, well, we can't. So we've had to toast them at a distance, which is not the biggest problem to have in COVID, I have to say. So we'll do that. So yes, it would be nice to get them down. Obviously, like you said, Kirsty, you know, the thing is they have respective other half families. Jordan normally, Jordan and Amy would go and see Jordan's family who live in America, but they were not doing this year. So, and his father and stepmom, but his mum also lives over here, and she's sort of locked down because she doesn't want to give it to anybody or take it from anybody. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. I think we're buying enough food here to feed them and whoever else pops in over the weekend. Unannounced or otherwise. It will probably, unfortunately, a lot of it will probably be wasted or will be frozen until such time as we can get it back out again. Yeah, I think June and I locked down. Well, as you know, the office closed immediately. We sent everybody home. We went home. We're fortunate that we work together, live together, and everything else. So it wasn't anything new for us. We did have one of our members of staff who had to leave because she and her husband could not get on. Actually, it was her ex-husband, and the kids didn't do very well living with the both of them again, and various other things. So she left. But apart from that, our team have been absolutely wonderful. And in fact, we've taken on 5 new members of staff since this started. So that's, you know, I'm quite proud of what we've managed to do with that.
It's done amazing to keep everything going. Absolutely amazing.
Well, and more than going.
Yeah.
It has been.
It is what we're here for. very much for that. And you know,
Yeah, but the other professional bodies haven't done that for their people. You know, you've done a great job.
Thank you. Well, we're a bit smaller and we're a bit younger. You know, we're a bit more agile, perhaps, than some of the others. Not me personally. I'm far from agile, but anyway. Having said that, I've lost 2.5 stone since we locked down, so I'm doing really well. And I'm not starving myself. I'm just being a bit more careful. And having got into lockdown, the first thing I did was eat virtually 24 hours a day, and I put on 1/2 stone, and then decided, right, that's the end of it. So I'm trying to get down. I'm trying to lose a bit more. Although looking at my target BMI weight, I don't think you'll see me if I stand sideways, if I go that small, but we'll wait. We'll wait and see. I've got to go back to something like I was when I got married sort of 30 odd years ago. So God knows. But anyway, 40 years ago, I'm going to get shot for that 40 years ago. But yeah. Yeah, never mind. My memory never was my strongest point, but no, I do know. Yeah. 29th of September. Oh. That's my phone buzzing. I bet that's June telling me off, isn't it? Oh no, that's fine. Yeah. So anyway, our son James has announced his engagement, so we're looking forward to seeing them. And those of you who remember Tara Abood, who used to work for ICB, she was an intern who came with us. She then left, but she and James met up not long afterwards, and so they hope to get married. They haven't told me when. We're just quite excited about that. So that's good. But yeah, we normally for our Christmas, because Jordan's family live abroad, we have every other year we have Christmas a week earlier. So we have our Christmas as if it's Christmas Day on the weekend before, and then they fly, and then we have a sort of a quieter Christmas. It gets very confusing because you keep thinking, well, why is the Queen back on again, and all this sort of stuff, you know. But it works very well this year. Luckily, it's our year that they're staying with us, so that's good. And but yeah, it'd be nice to see things. I mean, we've had a few. There've been a few odd things this year, haven't there? I mean, I lost an auntie recently, as I was talking before we came on air, and had to watch her funeral by video. And unfortunately, the camera was right up in the eaves somewhere, looking down on everybody, and all I could see was a group of old age, grey-haired men with bald heads, and I didn't know which I knew or which I was related to. Couldn't see anything. And the vicar was doing his best, but he was very articulated, and he jumped about, and his hands were going everywhere. And every time he moved, we lost what he was saying. So we got every sort of third word or something or other. So that was a shame. And my father passed away about 10 days ago. I wasn't close to him because my mother ditched him when I was about 3, so I've only ever met him a couple of times. But I would like to have at least done the decent thing and gone to a funeral. But he now has quite a large step family, and so I'm not really required. But yeah, so it's different. And I know you know, some of our team, we've lost a mother and a father this year for our team, you know, which is always a big shame. And you know, they've been finding it really difficult to cope with not being able to mourn in quite the same way. And unfortunately, we've lost a couple of members as well. And you know, that's always difficult. And we're not the normal people to be told when somebody passes away. So I know one of them, we had a complaint from a client that his bookkeeper had disappeared and wasn't answering the calls. And when we chased it up, we found out, unfortunately, she passed away. And she was a spinster of the parish. And therefore, really, there was nobody to do anything. So, you know, we did all we could to try and see if we could get any of his books back. But I think we found him another bookkeeper, and he was just trying to get them all started from scratch. But it's such a shame that somebody disappears and nobody knows. It's horrible.
Sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, so
Did she have her cope in place?
No. We don't know. We don't know anything about it. I mean, if she'd have had a cope in place, but then again, I don't even know how she died. I can't find a relative. I couldn't find anything else. So we were waiting for a death notice, and the death notice just said she died. So I don't know what happened. She could have dropped dead, or she could have died, you know, from an illness that lasted a long time. We were not told anywhere along the line as we wouldn't expect to be. But we've had a couple of people this year who have passed away, whose cope has kicked in, which I know sounds a bit mercenary talking about it, so I'm glad you mentioned it, Sylvia, not me. But yeah.
Just thinking I'll add you on the list to be told, yeah.
Yeah, and so it, you know, that thing is working. And funnily enough, I was talking to Terry Ram yesterday, because Terry Ram, I thought he might come on here, but he was doing other things, and he was saying that one of the biggest things that he's got out of ICB is actually the branch network. So I know, obviously, you run branches, so Kirsty, and he said it's not like Wheel Tappers and Shunters Social Club where everybody, there's a hierarchy and everybody sits down and they get their name called out, but it's this community. He said it really comes into its own when you might just want a reassuring chat with somebody. It's not, you know, they're not there specifically to answer your questions, but occasionally you know you've got the right answer, but in the back of your mind, there's a bit of niggling doubt, and you like to ring something.
That's
So,
absolutely the case. And sometimes just actually speaking the sentence or even writing the message, and as you write it or as you say it, you kind of go, no, I've talked myself into it or out of it, or whichever way you knew. You're like, but just actually talking to someone about it makes all the difference, I think.
Yeah.
And most, you know, it'd be interesting on the stats actually as to how many of your bookkeepers actually are lone bookkeepers. But I find the, you know, that's why I set our branch up, because, you know, I was on my own, and it's useful to have contact with them, but actually, as well as that, having contact by, you know, the ADCO people, and, you know, the group we've got with Sylvia where we, you know, we're working, and it's messages to other people. It's just having someone else that's in the same mindset as you, you know, just
That's right. That's
just
good.
to bounce ideas off is just amazing. And, you know, we do, even if it's just reassuring stuff, I do know my stuff. I just need to say this out loud just to reassure myself every now and then, because
Claire Kendall's just on and said, I wholly agree, Kirsty.
that was about you.
That was about you.
I'm not sure what she's agreeing to, but I'm going to take it.
She's agreeing that the ICB did a good job.
That's it, yeah, good. Thank you very much. And Angela Forsyth, who I had a chat with yesterday, funny enough, she's done Isle of Man letter of engagements and a smiley face. No, actually, it's a glum face. Yeah, we, the Isle of Man has been, some people in the Isle of Man have been using our standard English version or semi-UK version of the contracts of employment. And it refers to English law, which of course in the Isle of Man, it's the Isle of Man law. So we've had to change that a bit. And then one of the software companies has come up with I think something like a 36-page terms of engagement letter to give to clients. And it's all weird. So we've been asked to look at it. Is it okay? Because yours is not as big as this. So we said, yeah, but ours is aimed at bookkeepers. And actually, if you read this one, which the not to be mentioned name, software company has given you, it's really not fit for purpose. It's fit for somebody's purpose, but not yours. It's not. It's saying things like, well, if people don't pay, you can hang on to their records. Well, that's actually illegal. So people do need to be very careful. A lot of what we put is short and sharp and succinct. But the problem is, the more you put in there, the more it gets questioned. And you know, our advice at the moment is that what we give you is right. And if nothing else, it's a really good start, but it should be sufficient. And the rest of it's just down to you keeping your client happy. And as I've said many, many times on this program and conferences and everything else, the only time you seem to fall out with your clients normally is when you send them a bill that's too big. And that really is not any disciplinary matter or anything else. It's just a question of you and they agreeing in advance what you're going to charge them, rather than sending them a shot through the post or something like that. You know, so that's normally.
But that's very hard. Okay. That's very hard to do when a client thinks their books are okay, and then you get started and you realise that, you know, on the face of it they're okay. I used to have a client who'd come for confessions, and he'd, on the face of it, done a really good job of tidying up. His bank was all clear, you know, there was nothing left in the feed, and it was great. And then I'd dig in a bit deeper, and I'm like, well, haven't they paid you? And he went, oh no, they did. And I went, well, where's the money?
Where's the money?
And somebody else's account. Well, they haven't paid. I'm like, but you've told the computer that they've paid. And you know, just look, so he thought, you know, if you look at it first glance, the bank's all fine and the bank matches. It's like, well, yeah, but you've got multiple invoices of the same value and you've picked the wrong one. So, you know, it's kind of basic. That would be bookkeeping 101. Match the right thing to the right thing, you know.
Yeah.
What I've started doing is, because I've had problem with, like, say, taking on clients that's got messy book, and as you say, Kirsty, it looks good on the foreprint, it's all balanced, but underneath it is very messy. So what I tend to do is I tend to do a recommendation before even starting, is to go through, check all postings, screenshot on all errors, send back with the correct principle how it should have been done. So with that is to go ahead, would you like me to correct it? And if I do, this is how much it's going to cost. Should I do it or should I not? So I've given them the chance. If it is going to be a big invoice, say for example, if it is above the standard going forward fee, 6 fee, then that has got to be agreed upfront.
Yeah, I've had we've had somebody that they were on zero, as it turns out, and they came with, honestly, their stuff was such a mess and they'd been doing it all themselves, and by the time they agreed to an hourly rate to sort it out, and by the time we'd finished, it was £7,500 we had to bill her. She paid it, she accepted that was it, but it's one of those things and you're going, that's nice just before Christmas, but you know, we've done the work, we've had to do the work, and but that I don't mind those clients in a way, but it's time consuming, you know, and I wouldn't have had the time to do it, and we've, you know, it took 2 of my staff all that time to do it, and it so
I had one last week. I had one similar last week where it's there was a warning, a company house about threat to struck off. So it needs turning around, and it's like the directors were doing the accounts. And when I look into Xero and see the posting, it was like, how did you manage to balance? How did you manage to pay these invoices? And what he was doing is it was doubling up, because he would pay like dummy payment. His VAT return was wrong. The bank account, his director's loan account was wrong. Everything was wrong. It took me a full weekend.
I've done a couple of weekends, and I'm planning to do this one as well. Well, the a customer had decided that his website was going to automatically renew things and talk to QuickBooks, which was great, and we introduced a new piece of software, and we were going to do it in the quiet time like we recommended, but it didn't quite work out that way, and so we did it at peak renewal time. Excellent. So we had a combination of QuickBooks being told multiple things, and so doing multiple sales receipts. So suddenly I had £500,000 in our PayPal, and I'm 99%, you know, I know because I've got it open here that I do not have £500,000 in my PayPal. You know, you've just got that wrong.
That was what this one was.
Exactly.
With a Stripe account and a link.
It's not quite as simple as the, you know, they've got a couple of staff members, but because I kind of know what's gone wrong, I just need to work it through and just do it. And you know, there's money that's there, but it's not allocated to a person. So when they look at the people's accounts, they go, well, they're fine. I'm like, yeah, but the money's still there. It's just not attached to a person right now, and it's like in an undeposited fund. You know, it's just it's going to take. You know,
it's what makes bookkeeping fun, though, isn't it? You know, it what makes you necessary. And
yeah, absolutely. But this time she queried the last bill, so and I said, you know, to be fair, you can get the other girls to try and sort it, but it's going to be quicker for me to do it, and I can do it this weekend. And you know, but again, I've got the cost approved up front. That's another few hours, extra hours work.
Absolutely, definitely.
But I'll really enjoy it when it's done, because it'll look all tidy, and I'll have a pretty green tick saying
going forward. And then going forward, it is nice and pretty. That's how I like it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, there was something I was listening to last night. I'm not quite sure where it was, but somebody was saying that some educationalist somewhere had said we will soon not need to teach people how to write English, because predictive texting will do most of it. How to spell, because predictive texting will do it all for them. Well, to my mind, he's probably the same person who 3 or 4 years ago was saying that we'll soon be able to give up bookkeeping because software is going to do it for them. Actually, it's brought up more problems than it did before, you know, and the predictive texting problems that I get, because I never bother to read my email again, which I should do. But, you know, I'm sending something out and it's complete gobbledygook. And I'm thinking, well, that's not what I wrote. But it is what I've cleared. And it's the same with accounts, isn't it? You know, you put something in, you think you know what you're doing when you're a complete amateur, and in it goes. And the next thing you know, you've completely understated or overstated your accounts. And if you're then going to say, well, I might as well push this to company's house as well, you know, because I'm told by my software that I can, I just press go or something or other. It is going to be difficult, but that's good. Now I'm trying to see whether we've got an answer yet on this. So Iris is around, so I'm just wondering if she has Angela Forsyth, right? Oh, she wants to set up a branch now in the Isle of Man. Absolutely, Angela. I'll get Agatha, who is our branches guru, to talk to you about that. I think at the last count we had a couple of hundred people over there, but only about 15 or 16 practices. So that'd be really nice to get that cover. Gone are the days when people used to fly over to Liverpool. But anyway, we will we'll see what we can do about that, because that would be really, really good. Yeah, that's great. I'm waiting to see if anybody's going to give me the answer to this quiz. I'm not quite sure. Iris, are you still around? Oh, poll in progress, it says. Well, I think we've had enough.
That must be a
time.
lot.
You people have got to go.
Oh, Kirsty. Oh.
See, we all like our stroppy paperwork.
Paperwork wins the day. Now, you have to be very quiet and listen for this, because it is a small pot of coffee. So in a minute, in it goes to room 101. How about that? The closest I can get. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Ladies, thank you so much for that. That was a bit of fun for the end of term and our wind down. I know technically there's another week left yet till Christmas itself, but ICB is always closed for the last week, because we always demand that our staff are available virtually 24 hours a day for Summit. So the fact that we didn't quite do the same Summit this year, it's still written into their contract they can have the week week before Christmas, so they're having that. But actually, they work their socks off, to be honest with you, to get all that out.
Summit was
good. A couple of hours ago, when I just looked, and somebody will probably give me the figure, but there were still about 215 people as of that moment still going through some of the material. So
I've still got to catch up.
I'm still going through.
I've still got some to do.
Yeah, all right. It's brilliant. I'm glad it worked out.
Oh,
goodness only knows what we're doing next year, and I think we're probably doing a virtual Inspire link some way to the branches. So we'll be pressuring the branch chairs yet again. They've got broad shoulders. And so fantastic. So look, thank you all very much. Thank you everybody for listening. And what have we got? Oh, come on, wait a minute. We've got a few people coming in now. Yeah, everybody hates paperwork. Jackie says, great show. You can't get rid of Jackie, man. You know, she goes on holiday. And Claire says, wishing you all a wonderful Christmas, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Happy Christmas. Oh, it's all coming in.
I thought about poor Victor when I heard something about Northern Ireland going into like full lockdown for 6 weeks or something.
Yeah, I know, and they're not letting up for Christmas. But I thought all 4 nations had agreed to let up just for Christmas. So I don't know what that means. But Paul Ingram says, Happy Christmas. Thank you, Paul. You're a regular with us. We must get you on here at some stage as well. And have a fantastic Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you all. So great. I mean, just be very careful, and it's not going to be changing overnight. We will be notifying everybody about our first program in January. I presume it'll be, straight into these, but I'd have to, before I commit everybody to something, I want to just check. It's unlike me to check first, but I will do now because of Christmas. We are intending to do a lot more with ICB next year in different ways, because I keep asking for ideas and suggestions, and we're getting a few of those coming through. So please keep sending them in if you have them. I'll be using a few more of our team members. I'm hoping to twist Jackie's arm behind her back to stay with us for furlough. It's Friday, or at least until furlough disappears. So as that's going on for another month, I'm trusting that I can hang on to her for another month. And when that's gone, actually, we'll have technical Tuesdays or something like that. We'll still keep her on, and we'll think of something else for Fridays. But it's good to see so many of our members joining in on this. We've actually got some facts and figures that we're going to release. And I'm not sure if it's going out in the newsletter, which goes out today, but we will be doing an annual review of the year, probably in January, and we're going to release some figures, because there's been some phenomenal numbers cracked up, you know, something like 10,000 emails since July and all this sort of stuff, you know, and
Wow.
it's just unbelievable. And so thank you all very much, not just the three of you, but for everybody else who's watching and those who haven't been able to watch yet today. But you've been a fantastic bunch of members. You know, you have been so supportive. I don't think we've had any moments about what we've done for you, which is good, because it all comes off the top of our head half the time, and we're responding to day by day needs. And I'm really pleased that we can do that, and we do it because we've got a pretty good team. You know, we have an occasional hiccup, and somebody occasionally has a bad day. We all get those, but you know, everybody's rallied round. Everybody's working from home. Some from their bedrooms, some from their attics, all over the place. Exactly the same as you all are. And so, you know, I thank the team very much for everything they've done. And as far as you, the members, are concerned, you know, we thought that it would be disaster. Everybody would be falling apart at the seams and everything else, and absolutely far from it. Some of you have lost a few clients, but you've been very resilient and you've won back more. And at the end of the day, we've been here when other organisations and other members weren't, as you all know. I saw a survey the other day from one of the big accountancy bodies just saying that, you know, 2021 is going to be the year that we really take to the cloud. Come on, guys, we've been in the cloud for 5 years. You know, this is how we've been there and done that and everything else. So, yeah, it's nice to know they'll all be catching up. But, you know, you've all tried very hard. You've had family lives to think about. You've had relatives. You've had people with COVID. You've had worries about COVID, but you've still been there for your clients. And you've been fantastic. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Something else that could go into room 101 is homeschooling, because that wasn't fun.
What was what?
Homeschooling. That wasn't very much fun. Trying to work and homeschool.
Right.
Yeah, that was, I've just remembered how much trouble that was.
Well, yeah, it's some people have taken to it, like a duck to water, and others haven't. I know. You know, I've been watching Devon and Amber, my two little granddaughters, staring at a screen, completely engrossed in it's the Google education they've been watching. I think it is something like, you know, and they've been loving it. But yeah, it's each to their own. And so, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you, Garry.
Happy Christmas to
Happy
you.
Christmas to you.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas to everybody.
Juliet, Sylvia. Happy Christmas. Bye-bye.